Hello, Minnesota. My name is Pejman. I am the founder of Touca. We help engineering teams understand the true impact of their code changes on the behavior and performance of their software. Our product significantly reduces the risk of changing code in mission-critical systems. On average, software engineers spend 17 hours a week just maintaining code. This is in part due to the long feedback cycle between the time we make a code change and the time we gain confidence that it works the way we intended. When I worked at a medical software company, this feedback cycle was up to several days. We had to regularly test our software workflows with thousands of test cases to ensure the safety and accuracy of our product. Our test process was so long and labor-intensive that sometimes we decided against making changes to certain components just because it was too difficult for us to retest them. So I started Touca to fundamentally change the way we test software by providing real-time feedback to software engineers about the overall impact of individual code changes. This way, engineers can catch and fix unintended side effects of their code changes before pushing them. As a first step towards achieving this vision, we've built a product that automates the testing of complex workflows with any number of real-world inputs, and I am excited to be sharing it with you today. Let us assume we want to test a basic software application named Profile Database that takes usernames of students and provides basic information about them. The interface to this workflow is a parse profile function. One way to test this function is to call it with different inputs and check for each input if the function returns an output that matches our expectations. This common practice is called unit testing and requires hard coding expected values for each input. Now, what if instead of this simple function, our code under test was a video compression algorithm? It may be more difficult to describe the expected behavior of that software. Plus, we would need to test this workflow with a large number of test cases. And ideally, we want to capture more data than just the output compressed video so that when the behavior of our video, the version of our algorithm does not match our expectations, we can easily trace the differences back to their root cause. Touca tries to solve these problems by taking a fundamentally different approach. This is a simple regression test for our parse profile function that uses the Touca test framework. Do you see how it is different? It is missing those expected values. It is even missing our test cases, the usernames we were calling our function with. The code you see here captures the actual return value of our function and submits it to a remote Touca server. We can add any number of these data capturing functions anywhere within our code to capture values of interesting variables and runtime of different functions. Let me show this in action. This is a cloud-hosted version of the Touca server at touca.io. I just created a suite called Starter, and as you see, the server is giving me an API key and an API URL that I can use to submit test results to it. I am setting these parameters as environment variables on my command line. Now, I can run my test by passing the version of my code under test, as well as the path to a file that I have here, which lists the test cases that I want to pass to my code under test. So when I run this code, you can see that the test framework passes these test cases one by one to the code under test and captures the values that we've added as a result, and then submits them to the Touca platform. In fact, we can see that version 1 has been submitted to our Touca server. Now, I can click on this version 1 to see the test cases that we submitted, and I can see the values that we captured for each. Now, let me switch to another suite called Profile Database here that already has submitted results for 5 different versions of that same example that I showed you. You can see the name and a status of each version here on the left-hand side. Version 2 is shown with a star to indicate that it is the baseline of my suite. Now, I can inspect the test cases submitted for any of these versions, and I can even inspect the values and see how they compare against version 2 of my software. In fact, using this bar, I can compare my version 5 with any other version that I've previously submitted. The server automatically compares my test results with the baseline version, which is version 2. In addition to the results that describe the behavior of my code under test, there are also metrics that I've captured, and submitted. So they are shown in a separate tab. Now, if I inspect all the test results submitted for version 5, and I come to the conclusion that they match my expectations, I can use this button to promote this version to be the new baseline of my code. I can even add a comment to let my teammates know why I am promoting this version. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and promote this version. You see that as soon as I promoted the version, the Touca server automatically started comparing this version against the new baseline, which happens to be the same version. Obviously, we expect everything to be 100%. If I go back to my profile database, I see now that version 5 is shown with the star, and that this page serves a historical view of how my software has evolved over time. In fact, we can check that same evolution in terms of performance by looking at this chart. Now, this is how Touca makes life easier for engineers building and maintaining mission-critical systems. It facilitates the development of high-level integration tests, automates their execution, and does the legwork of comparison and management of the test results. We offer a cloud-hosted version of the Touca server at touca.io, and our enterprise customers can self-host the Touca server to have full control over the data. Touca client libraries are offered as open source. Right now, our SDKs in Python and C++ are publicly available on GitHub. We are planning to release SDKs for Java and JavaScript by the end of August. There is so much more to Touca than I could fit into this demo, so check us out at touca.io, give our product a try, and share your thoughts with us as we start our ambitious journey to make maintaining software 10x more efficient.